scoreboard. Okay, so welcome back to another awesome episode of the Scoreboard Addicts podcast. I'm Nick, and with me as always is Anthony the Rook, and we have a special guest this week. TJ, who is normally hammered, is on vacation, hammered elsewhere, and we've got Joe from Soccoa Media with us today, and we want to welcome Joe to our show. Welcome aboard.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Should be fun.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this week's episode. We've got a lot of things going on. I'm actually decked out in my old school Jets gear because we're going to talk about an old school Jet amongst other things going on this week in the wide world of East Coast sports.
And I'm in the den.
Say again?
I'm in the den.
You're in the den. Finally, it took you 3 weeks to get there.
Hopefully better service. It won't freeze as much.
Yeah. We up there. I think Joe just took your spot on freezing. Say that again, Joe.
I said, and I'm in the car.
There it is.
Yeah.
We're all in unique spots right now.
That's called some diehard right there. I'm actually in my normal spot. I'm out here in my office.
Yeah, you're always in that spot. This should become my normal spot, so I don't get the disconnected and freezing and stuff.
Yeah, you don't have LeBron or Manfred trying to cut you off.
Yeah. Well, so I guess the good thing started here. We have obviously Stanley Cup Finals almost done. Tampa's up. It's going into the third period right now. They're up 1-0. In the series, they're up 3-1. So looking to close out in home ice today. And then the NBA Finals just started. So did you guys catch any of that game?
Which game?
Of the NBA Finals?
No, I didn't catch any of that today.
I know why you didn't, because it's West Coast.
That's a fact. I mean,
doesn't start till like 9 o'clock.
I'm not even watching the Yankees this week because they're starting on the West Coast. Like,
neither am I.
Who's got this energy to watch a bad team play till 1 o'clock in the morning? Like, I have a life.
I don't. I certainly do not. Actually, speaking of which, I was actually going to put a bet on Nick Nelson's doing an emergency start, and he's terrible. So the pick is Yankees give up a run in the first inning by Nick.
I was able to like spend things in the game last night before I fell asleep, and they were nothing at that point. So
yeah, I guess we kind of lost him there. Did you get him, Nick?
No, I got him. He said they were up like 8-0 when he stopped watching the game or whatever it was. But honestly, they could have been up 55-0, and I'd have been like, all right, here comes the loss. They're gonna blow it for us right now.
It was a little nerve-wracking, I guess, in the ninth inning for Chapman, where he had the bases loaded. Still had a little bit of trouble throwing some wild pitches and stuff like that. So
that's Chapman for you. No spider attack, which is one of our topics. So we'll get into that a little bit later. So the Suns won Game 1, which is Chris Paul at the age of 36 finally getting his chance to the NBA Finals. Puts up I think he scored over 30 points, which is I think it was saying obviously I think it's only 3 people who are 36 and over who ever scored over 30 points in an NBA Finals game. And now he's one of them. So it's pretty cool for Chris Paul. I hope they win. I'm rooting for them. Chris Paul is one of those like old school point guard guys who's been around the league for a very long time, so long as LeBron and Melo and Wade. So for him to get a first ring finally would be awesome.
Yeah, I think that would be real special for Chris Paul. He is one of those guys that's been holding it down, and somewhere along the way he kind of disappeared for a second as far as like the basketball and sporting world is concerned, kind of like Blake Griffin. At one point you're up here and everybody's talking about you. You don't join one of these super teams and all of a sudden you disappear from the face of the earth. And that kind of happened to Chris Paul, So he didn't end up playing with LeBron or one of those other super teams and people just forgot about him.
He almost did that.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I mean, in the little basketball that I follow, I used to watch basketball back in the day when it was a real sport. But I definitely agree in the aspect of Chris Paul has never really been one of those guys that like went and formed those super teams and just, he kind of did his own thing. So it is kind of nice to see him trying to go after a ring, and the fact that he's got one game under his belt so far puts him in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, so I was alluding to before was the remember the David Stern? I almost said Dennis Stern, which is the actor.
David
Home Alone.
No,
David Stern.
Daniel Stern is the actor.
Daniel Stern. David Stern.
Daniel Stearns, as in Brickma, the pitching coach.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
The voice
So-
on Wonder Years. He was the narrator on the Wonder Years.
Which I didn't know that. You told me that. That's
Yeah.
interesting. That's a good point. But I was saying David Stern actually stopped Chris Paul from joining the Kobe Lakers at one time. That trade was supposed to go through, and that would have been a super team. So he would have got it earlier if it wasn't for David Stern, who was LeBron obsessed. But enough about that. So I know we have Joe here. Originally he was supposed to be a special guest interview with TJ here, but since he's filling in for TJ, still want to talk to Joe about the Soccoa Media app and what he's got going on over there. So Joe, you want to just maybe fill in, talk about it a little bit?
Yeah. I mean, kind of had this idea. I want to say going back like 4 or 5 years ago. I graduated college and back in 2012, 2013. And the biggest thing was I went to school for sports media, and I knew right off the bat that it was going to be a very tough field to get into. So, I kind of finished college in like 3.5 years. So I kind of gave myself like a semester ahead. So I kind of tacked on a lot of classes and stuff like that to get it done. To try to get that like head start into it. I was able to find little things here and there, internships, all that, but pretty much since then, it's been a real tough field to get into. The pandemic obviously didn't help. So like I said, about 4 or 5 years ago, I was just brainstorming. There were many sleepless nights and trying to figure out what else can I do to build this portfolio up. And, I've written and self-published 3 books already on Amazon. I've covered the Rangers, I've covered the Yankees, I've covered the Mets in the press box. Actually, it was funny. Probably one of my only Yankee games that I covered happened to be A-Rod's last game as a New York Yankee. And for me, it was actually pretty exciting, not because I was covering A-Rod, but for the fact that a massive thunderstorm happened in that process. And I was kind of glad because it was almost like basically summing up A-Rod's career all in one when there was a massive thunderstorm that came through. Because I've never been an A-Rod fan. I wasn't an A-Rod fan. I do not give him any credit whatsoever in helping in the 2009 World Series championship. Hideki Matsui was the MVP for a reason. So, but, covering all these teams, it was all done for free. And then, you put in the applications and you get the rejection letters and it kind of weighs on you a little bit and it gets frustrating and you kind of hit rock bottom. Finally, it was so weird. I go to a party at a neighbor's house and I meet somebody there who's into coding and all that stuff. And he said, oh yeah, I build apps and stuff. So then the idea then clicked back in my head and I reached out to him and I said, hey, this is my idea for an app. I want to be able to give people that have been in my position where we're getting those rejection letters, just another platform to kind of showcase their talents. And it took off from there. He was able to build it. And, listen, it's by no means the best that there is yet, but we're working on it. We're trying to push it in the right direction. It has articles. It houses at least, I think I'm up to like 14 podcasts, maybe, different shows. And I actually just launched a live stream that's going to be embedded into the app. So I could do live shows and even cover live games. I'm a broadcaster for a junior hockey team. So we're going to have some of those games on the app coming this fall. So really it's all coming together, but that's basically what it was. It was just another thing for me to do that can kind of put my name out there, build on the resume, build on the portfolio, but also give other people that opportunity who have been in the same spot as I've been.
Yeah, and obviously we're one of those people, so we appreciate you putting us on your app.
Absolutely. For me, I think so, for anybody who doesn't know, I don't think we've ever talked about this, Rook, but our show came about because we were having a little group chat during the NFL draft. And I probably still have the conversation somewhere, but Rook was on point with about 6 draft picks prior to those picks taking place. But the commentary between myself and TJ and Rook was like choke yourself hilarious. I mean, I was sitting, where was I? I think I was in Georgia at the time.
You were still away. I was in Georgia. I was home upstairs in my bed.
I was
Brittany was
choking.
Brittany was like, "You coming down?" She's like, "Are you ever coming downstairs?" I was like, "No, I'm watching the draft." I was like a little schoolgirl texting on the bed.
It was so funny. It really was. I was like, I wish we could record this. It's like when potheads have great ideas and they forget them later.
Yes, yes. I can relate to that. Yes.
I was like, we need to record this so we can hear it later. We should do a podcast. And Rick goes, we should do a podcast. Why aren't we already doing a podcast? And we sat there and we talked about it for a few days. And I think the first comment was like, what's the name going to be? And then we had to go search for 8,000 names that were already
so
taken.
Many different names. And we're like, that's taken. This one's taken.
Yeah.
And then TJ's like, just do this. Scoreboard Addicts. Let's just do that.
Yeah.
And originally we were supposed to be TNT because it was TJ, Nick, and Troyce. And I was like, oh, that's great. And then there was some other podcast that had like one episode and never again. And then they were TNT. And I was like, it's trash.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny though is that like so the first podcast that I ever launched for myself was actually the title of one of the books that I started, and I was going to do a series, but I wound up only doing 2 of the books in the series, and it was called Sports on the Brain. The drawing was like a stick figure, and the person's brain was in their hand, but then the sports logos and stuff were like in their head and stuff like that. So it was Sports on the Brain. And then I kind of just retired that. And then I went to just Sports Talk 365 because I was just like, all right, I'm trying to find a different name, but I want to get this launched off the ground and stuff like that. So I just went with Sports Talk 365, and that's what it's been so far. But, like I said, in this day and age now, is like everybody seems to be podcasting, and it's great. And I like the fact that it basically originated with you guys in a group chat, and basically like, oh wow, we're talking about this. And even when you're just sitting around the table BSing with your friends and stuff, it's just like, let's just put a podcast together. All we got to do is press record and just start talking. And so it's I definitely understand when it comes to the whole name thing, because even with the app itself, do you really think I want it to be called Soccoa Media? No, absolutely not. I've been trying to find so many different names, and one of the names that I came up with, I had to go through a lawyer to go into copyright thing, and apparently there's a company in Florida who has this name, but it's not even sports related. I wanted to do something called Nosebleed Media because it basically resonates with sports fans, because it's like it's the average sports fan that sits up in the nosebleeds. Those are the real fans, right? So like that's what I wanted to do, but I couldn't do it. So I'm still even searching for a new name for the app.
That's why at the end, when we throw our production logo at the end, I was like, all right, I had a name. I was like, I can't use that name. I can't use that name. I was like, all right, I'm just going to abbreviate it. And that's it. Somebody will get it. Somebody might get it, but most people probably won't. But
we'll keep it a secret.
We'll keep it a secret.
But Joe, obviously you mentioned before you had, you said it was 3 self-published books on Amazon.
Yeah.
Great.
The first two were Sports on the Brain. I did baseball and I did hockey. Those were more so back in college in our journalism class, our professor wanted us to start a blog. And I basically just started blogging and stuff. And then I turned it into, I was like, oh, what if I take my blogs and just turn it into a book and just had different sections of it. So that's how that came about. And then the third book, I just came up with an idea. It was pretty funny. I was sitting in a classroom. I was a paraprofessional at the time. And just randomly at one moment in the class, the idea popped in my head. And I literally told my student, I'm like, hey, give me 1 second. And I started jotting down the idea for the book and writing the whole thing out from start to finish right then and there in the classroom. And it was more so, it's sports related, but it was like a sports story with a romantic love story involved, but there was also personal tragedy involved. So that's the third book. That's called The Journey Home, a Baseball Story. So, no.
And that sounds like something I would read.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I take some of the personal tragedies that I've dealt with in my life and I put it into this character. Basically the premise is it's a who is supposed to be the projected #1 pick, and then one thing after another happens and he kind of hits rock bottom, and then he has to kind of prove himself again to get himself into the show. And, ultimately he works through these obstacles.
Don't tell us the end and don't spoil it. We want to.
Yeah.
In case everyone wants to read it, don't give it all away.
No, I'm not going to give it all away.
I'm looking it up right now.
Yeah. So Joe, also another thing too is obviously you said you do the hockey broadcasting. So what team is it? And tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so it's the New York Aviators. They're a junior hockey team that's based out of Brooklyn. They play out of Floyd Bennett Field. And
at the Aviator.
Yep.
All right, right on.
Junior program that, it has players that come in anywhere from 16 to 20 years old, and they're basically playing to get into college. So even though some of them should be at the college level right now, they're playing hockey. They've been playing travel hockey and all that stuff. So they're basically playing to get into schools, and then we wind up, our coach is really good and our program is really good to the fact that they, get college scouts and coaches down there where it's Division I, Division II, Division III. So I'm the broadcaster, but I do a lot of the media relations for them as well. So I handle their social media channels. I put up all their content. We've really kicked it up a notch the last couple of years in our video content on the YouTube channel. Just fun stuff, behind the scenes about players and just about a junior program. And these kids come from all over the place. We're not just talking the United States. We're talking Europe. I think last year alone, we had 7 Swedish players. We had 7 Swedish players at one point, with a couple of Latvian kids, kids from Russia, kids from Belarus. So we get a lot of these kids in that are just trying to work their way up the hockey chain. And our league is the United States Premier Hockey League, the USPHL. I want to say they're like the 5th or 6th league underneath all the top, pro leagues that are out there. So it's a really great program. I'm actually part of an ownership group for that junior team that we took over last year. So, and we're continuing to build it, and we're just gonna, keep on putting a good product out on the ice as well.
When do you guys play? When's the season, and how long is the season?
So the season typically starts. They report usually the last week of August. They start trickling in. Camp will open up around first week, second week of September. They'll go through a pretty intense camp for about a week, and then exhibition games will start the middle of September. And then October, we get off the ground and running, and it goes from October to the end of February, and then Nationals is in the beginning of March.
Wow. So when those guys are here, you say a lot of them are from other countries. Where are they staying while they're in New York?
So we have something called a billet program. You become a billet family where we ask people in the neighborhood or people that are around the organization if they would be willing to take 1 player, 2 players, kind of even and bring them in as their own kid essentially, and really give them that family dynamic living, make them feel as comfortable as possible, at home as possible. And so they'll do that. And the families will get, the billet family will get money for that, and that'll cover, basically, it's almost basically covering rent, just we ask that you feed them, and then they'll get to practices on their own. And it's like I said, it's a really good experience for them, especially the ones that, you get a lot of players who get homesick, especially the ones from Europe. So we kind of keep them together a little bit. We also have a beach house that we rent out over in the Rockaways, which is about a 5-minute drive from the rink. So we could house about, anywhere from 7 to 10 players, and we have food catering into them. We actually just launched something this past year. We had catering from Cebu that's in Bay Ridge.
Yeah, I've been there.
Great food. Yeah, great food. So we really do well. And even when we're on showcases, so sometimes in the season, we have to go on showcases where they'll go and play 4 games at a rink in Massachusetts or down in Virginia.
Barnstorming.
Yeah, exactly. And we feed them there. We make sure they're taken care of there. We provide their transportation, which is the bus. Last year, because of COVID, the league decided to move the whole league into a hub in Tampa. So we flew them down to Tampa for 44 days. So they finished out the regular season there.
That's interesting.
So
it's really cool.
It's really a cool experience for junior players that are trying to, like I said, continue to move their way up the list in the hockey world.
Anybody move on from there into a larger role somewhere else?
Oh yeah, we've had players come through the organization. I believe this past year, a player that we had in our organization years ago by the name of Shane Pinto, he plays for the Ottawa Senators. He made his NHL debut. We've had quite a few players come through the Aviators program at one point or another, whether they were playing there at the youth level, at the junior level, and then they made their way at the pro level.
You, how much do you pay for people to stay there? I know someone in Staten Island that has plenty of room in their house.
I think they get about $500 a kid.
Oh, Nick, you can have like 6 kids in there. Nick, you like pick up a scratch on the side.
You're taking a couple of kids in. You're making $1,000 right there a month.
Nick, that's not bad.
I've been talking about renting out the basement.
There we go. We just set it up.
We might have to have a conversation. That'll be huge for us.
Nick's gonna take on 3 Norwegian kids.
Better not be hotter. They better not be more handsome than me. All right, that's it.
Well, that's easy. That's easy to be.
They better be super pale.
Super pale, blonde hair, blue eyes. Man.
No hair. All right, listen, no hair in my house. We're going full Messier in my house.
I just scored a run, so I just want to bet. Let's go, baby. Sorry to interrupt the interview. All right. Well, no, that's actually really interesting.
Hey, I have to check out one of these
games. Then
I got one question for you, Joe.
Sure.
When you make it big, don't forget about the little guys when you make it big. All right.
Nah, listen. I always, my whole thing is I have loyalty, and anybody that's helped me in my career at one point, they will be repaid at some point when it comes to that. Like I even think about the people who basically took me under the wing when I first started covering the Rangers in the press box. Like I was nervous as hell, even though I wasn't getting paid for it. I needed to know my way around the Garden. Like, listen, I'm a season ticket holder, but when you get to the press level, it's like, all right, you got to go down to the locker room, interview the coaches, interview the player.
My cousin works at the Garden. He's one of the MCs at the Garden.
Oh, very nice.
I'm not sure. Part of the Blue Crew.
Oh, okay. I mean, I know one person part of the Blue Crew. I think his name is Anthony Furia. He's a really good guy. He helped me get a couple of things too with the Rangers, but I always remember the people who went out of their way to help me. So that's why I feel like when the time comes, there will be a repayment of some sort.
Well, if you ever go to the Rangers game, see a Blue Crew guy, and he's like 6'1" with a goatee and really white. His name is Jason. That's my cousin.
Okay.
Also, Nick, you and Joe have the same attorney, so you guys are in good hands.
There we go. I'll take it.
There you go.
No, I mean that's awesome, and we'll definitely have to be checking out one of these Aviator games. Next year.
I actually just got the schedule in my possession, but that's
top secret ownership stuff. You can't be sharing that.
I'm looking at my dates because I got to start plugging in. So
Yeah. Now I wanted to talk to you about. I know you added this the live part of it. I mean, I don't know if something that we could jump on, and I'm just gonna interject us into it. But we obviously we talk about how we did the NFL draft. We were doing a text chat. I mean, we love watching sports together and doing stuff like that. I mean, is that going to be open to more than just the broadcast and stuff? You're going to be doing some live.
100%. Like anything we could do live, we'll do it. If we decide a poker game going on, a perfectly legal poker game going on.
Legal, yes, it has to be legal.
For funsies.
Yeah, just for points, no cash. Fake coins.
Yeah,
we lose
points. We have microphones lined up and everybody's talking about it.
Over here you might lose.
Yeah, we any live show we could get, we'll do. Like if you guys are just having a draft party and you want to just do a live show where you guys are talking, you're having a live show talking about the draft as it happens. I'm even thinking about putting it to the test for my fantasy baseball league when it comes to next year. Like, just basically going through a fantasy draft, whether it's football, whether it's baseball, basketball, hockey, anything that we could put. It's basically like I'm trying to be like ESPN 8 the Ocho here. Anything we can broadcast live, we'll broadcast live. If we have a family event, and we'll broadcast the wiffle ball game.
Hey, I'd be up for that. I love football.
What we could do that might interest a friend of ours is we could call up our friend Matt. Shout out to Matt, and see if we could do a WrestleMania show.
There we go, WrestleMania. Now we're talking.
Show.
Shout out the Squared Circle, which is Matt's Instagram handle.
I gotta say that it's so funny, not to get off topic here, but you just mentioned WrestleMania. And you'll appreciate this. I got Lisa to watch. Lisa's my girlfriend, so we got to have a special shout out to Lisa, of course, who's in the car driving while.
Shout out to Lisa.
I had her watch the Andre the Giant documentary, and this girl was sobbing
Wow.
the last 20, 30 minutes of this. She was so into it, and she felt so bad for Andre the Giant because
it's tragic
he was 47 when he died.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I actually
really
haven't watched it yet. She's better than me.
Oh, you gotta watch it, man. It's really good. It's really good.
I heard it's great. I heard it's amazing.
Put the Mick Foley one on for her and let her see how hot Mick Foley's wife is.
What does that happen to anything?
What?
What is that? Why would she want to see how hot Mick Foley's wife is?
Have you seen Mick Foley?
Yeah, but it just seems red.
How he has an amazingly hot supermodel wife, I'll never understand.
His daughter's attractive.
He's missing a frigging ear. His wife is so hot. How did that happen?
Lisa wanted me to throw it out there. Money in the Bank. That's the comment that she came out with. Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
No, he wasn't famous at the time.
Yeah, he was always
up and coming. He was this is like 1990. They met 1991.
Oh, wow.
And imagine him putting that mask on while they were going out on a date or something as Mankind.
No, he wasn't even Mankind yet.
He had alter egos. Dude Love, Cactus Jack.
He was just starting out as Cactus Jack. At that point, he was Cactus Jack Manson or something.
You think he's hung?
Maybe. He was missing an ear at the time. I know that much. He was in WCW at the time. They met at Jones Beach at a racetrack.
Oh, that's why.
And she was there as like one of the pretty girls that goes to like races. And he was there as Cactus Jack. And she was like, who are you? Why are people like floating around you? And he's like, hi, I'm Cactus Jack. And she's like, nice to meet you, Captain Jack. And he's like, yeah, she called me Captain Jack.
Captain Jack Sparrow.
So, yeah,
hey man, sometimes we never understand things like that, I mean, what are you gonna do?
He had something about him. He had an air. He was charismatic.
Yeah. Oh, that's what it was. Not just his huge dong. I heard an "ooh" in the back. Shh, ruin the show. No, the funny thing is that we actually can't get Matt and Joe together because Joe just ripped apart A-Rod, and that Matt would not stand for that slander of his hero, A-Rod. So,
I mean, listen, good for him. Good for him to republish himself as in the public image, but I just have no respect for that guy. I mean, other than he was able to bang J-Lo, but then she basically pulled a whole Red Sox thing and went back to Ben Affleck. So,
to be fair, he banged quite a few broads. All right, not just J-Lo. Like he banged J-Lo.
Oh yeah.
That might be the pinnacle of the bangings, but he banged quite a few women.
Kate, what was her name?
Yeah.
Kate
Hudson, the magical vagina that won a 2009 World Series.
Wow.
He played incredible when he was dating her. I wish they got married and stayed together. They would have won like 10 more championships before he retired.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So obviously, Joe, thank you for going through, the history of the app and everything you've been going through. But and also appreciate you coming on to fill in here for TJ. We may need you next week too because I'm going to be away. So if this goes well, maybe we'll use Joe again, Nick. Put Nick on the spot.
This guy friggin' going on vacation. Who do you think you are going on vacation?
TJ's away on vacation, so I'm allowed to too.
TJ's not on vacation. Listen, RIP to our friend TJ. He annoyed his wife with his Macho Man impression, and she killed him. So just a moment of silence for our friend TJ. Cheers, buddy.
Cheers to TJ.
And I'm on vacation in 2 weeks.
There you go. All right. Well, we'll get started on it. So, we've covered this before, how New Era makes really shitty hats. We went through the different types of hats they made with the city. I don't know if it was like City Connect or what they were trying to do, but
it looked like they put a bunch of bumper stickers on a hat. They were just like, yeah, well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna put a bunch of bumper stickers that you might find on somebody's car in the 70s, and we're gonna put that on a hat.
So now they're back again, and they got this new. I don't even know what to call it. Is it like a font? Like it's all different fonts behind. So it's the main logo. I'm sure Nick, the editor, will put in the picture of it. But it's basically the Yankee hat. It's the Yankee symbol on the hat, but then around it says Yankees.
Or through it. It doesn't say around it.
Yeah, not around it. They're straight through it. You could barely see the symbol. And then you got like the Y in like Helvetica. Then you have the A in like Comic Sans. The N is in like Times New Roman. It like does not make sense whatsoever. It looks like a serial killer, like put it together like one of those serial killer
they cut it out of a newspaper,
cut out of a magazine,
or magazine. Yeah.
There. And my only thought is that maybe they thought, everyone loves all these serial killer documentaries on Netflix. So like, let's get in on this craze right now. So let's have a serial killer type hat and put it on the front. But it looks god awful.
It does.
I think any chance that Rob Manfred has to shoot himself in the foot, he does.
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah,
the All-Star jerseys are brutal looking.
Absolutely. Well, the All-Star jerseys look like somebody was going to have the All-Star game in Atlanta and then decided to be woke at the last minute. So that's what it looks like.
Like, we have to slap this together. How do we
it's
put these
very
together?
slapped together.
Yeah.
They look like a bad shirt that your softball team puts together.
What's so funny is that like everybody then went like and took on to social media, and all these like graphic design people were like, hey, we just made a better jersey in 30 minutes. Like, at least have the Rocky Mountain. Like, incorporate the Rockies at some point. Then, if that's what you're going to do, I mean, listen, I'm surprised Atlanta or the Braves didn't fight even harder or sue Major League Baseball for this.
I think
if I was the Braves, I just wouldn't have sent any of my players. That would have been Braves, that. I mean, I don't know how many Braves made the All-Star game this year, but I'd have just been like, well, they're not going.
You know what, though? I really have no interest. I've never really had interest in the All-Star game. I mean, obviously, the home run derby is always fun to watch. And especially, the players that we're going to have in the home run derby. So as much as like I'm on board with this whole, like I was not going to watch baseball at all because of this whole debacle. I still probably won't even watch the home run derby, considering that I could be busy that night or whatever. But it should be fun. But I think they could have done a better job at just putting a better looking jersey together, or do the right thing. Just let the players play in their team jerseys. Like, I
think that's what they're doing, though. I think that's just the batting practice jersey they're wearing in the derby.
It's a batting practice jersey,
and then you'll just wear your regular home jersey with the 2 stars around the MLB logo.
Yeah.
Have you seen the hats? They're basically the Astros hat in purple, and they're like, the star is not a star; it's the Rocky Mountain. But they put like 5 of them. But basically, it looks like the Houston Astros logo, because everybody just has their logo inside a star. It's really not good.
I feel like I don't want to get off track here, but I feel like every All-Star, like whatever sport it is, they're always like really bad. Like the NHL ones, like I love the NHL All-Star game. I think it's a little bit more fun now, but they're just generic NHL logo, black and white. That's all it is now.
Yeah.
Because they do the 3 versus 3. But obviously I'm hoping that New Era gets bullied again into not putting these hats out and taking them off the market like they did last time. So last time, they had those hats. Everyone bullied them on social media, and the hats came off. So every now and then, I
don't think it's a bullying tactic. I just your hat sucks. Nobody's gonna buy it. So why are you gonna release it?
But sometimes this is the time when social media actually works, when they're able to get these god awful hats off the market.
Look, at the end of the day,
no one ever will have to touch these things.
Here's the problem, though. At the end of the day, right? If they don't release that image of the hat on the internet, and nobody sits there and throws the backlash, then they just release it, and no one buys it because it's fugly.
Yeah.
So, like, what difference does they just save themselves?
A favor. Yeah,
they just save themselves. That's all.
Yeah, I agree.
Why can't they just bring back the Japanese kanji hat? I just really love that old Yankees Japanese hat. The Met one looked like an alien. It was like a circle with like pointy ears or something like that. It was a weird like Korean logo.
Well, since we're on the topic of the All-Star game, we're all talking about, obviously Joe's not a fan of it. I know, Nick, I don't know if you watch it, but I know I always watch Home Run Derby. It's always one of the things I used
to watch it more often. And then it got to the point where it was like guys with like one season where they hit 25 home runs is in the Home Run Derby. And I'm like, really? That guy never hit a home run.
I will say though, it really would have been super cool if Major League Baseball somehow was able to get like the big 3 superstars, I feel, of the game right now involved, but at least they have 2 of them. I mean, Shohei Ohtani obviously being one of them. Vlad Jr., I really kind of, can't, want to see. And then Fernando Tatis Jr. I mean, these are the rising stars of the game. But I also understand now, like, this is where you kind of get into the whole thing where it's the double-edged sword, where guys, it's an honor to be there at the All-Star game, but these guys like to also take their time, their downtime, and rest up. And then mostly we get guys that come out of the home run derby and just have an absolutely crazy, not good,
second half.
Not good performance second half.
Yeah, and
Ohtani will probably get injured.
No, he won't.
Home run derby.
Stop bad mountain Otani and wish an injury on him. You sick bastard.
I'm just stating facts. The guy can't play a full season.
Well, so what's going on about the All-Star game was obviously you already spoke about. You touched on this, Joe. I was going to mention this as well. Is that a lot of the guys now just do not want to go. Like if they're a pitcher or they want downtime, like DeGrom is the major story here in New York right now. Is that he's already saying I'm not going to the All-Star game. And I think it was originally he was supposed to pitch Sunday. Normally, if you pitch on Sunday, you're not going to pitch in the All-Star game. But now I think because the movement with the games being canceled, everything, so he's not pitching Sunday anymore. So now he's already said that I'm not going to pitch. So they have to find a new representative for the New York Mets because they need a pitcher because he was the one representative for the New York Mets, and he's a pitcher. So now I think Taijuan Walker is probably the one to fill in there. But that's one of the issues too, is that these players don't want to really go. And I don't really blame DeGrom for him not wanting to pitch because he's dealt with the arm injury, right? They had a couple times they pulled him out of game. He went to the 10-day IL. So I don't blame him for not wanting to pitch in that game.
Are they still doing where if they don't show up to the All-Star game, they get suspended a game? Because I remember that's what baseball was doing a few years back, that because they were kind of getting frustrated at these top stars who were getting elected to the All-Star game, and then they're getting suspended for one game. Look, listen, I also think the whole voting thing too is that, somebody came up on Twitter. I don't know if you saw it, but somebody compared the numbers between Aaron Judge and Cedric Mullins of the Baltimore Orioles. Cedric Mullins has better numbers than Aaron Judge. Cedric Mullins should be an all-star over Aaron Judge. I hate this whole fan voting thing because fans are just going to vote.
But Joe, the All-Star game is for the fans. You got to remember when the All-Star game first popped off, the National League and the American League did not play each other until the World Series. So you never got to see Willie Mays play against Mickey Mantle unless the Giants and the Yankees made it to the World Series.
100%. But now you're getting guys that don't want to be there, that don't have a care in the world of being there, when then you have guys who are actually performing like all-stars that are not even getting noticed. It's like, at least, all right, fine. You want to hold a fanfare thing here, but at least Major League Baseball needs to do the right thing and maybe have a system where, all right, the fans are going to vote half of the players in, but then Major League Baseball should take it in their own hands and say, hey, a guy like Cedric Mullins is putting up all-star numbers. We should give him consideration to go to the all-star game. I think that would mean a lot to a guy like that who necessarily is not getting attention because he plays on the Baltimore Orioles.
Well, to be fair though, I mean every team has to have a representative. So if Cedric Mullins isn't going to the All-Star game, who is? Because I remember a couple of years. The reason I stopped
he
watching,
is going to the All-Star game, just to clarify, because I think he's the Orioles representative.
The reason I stopped watching the Derby for the most part was because of what was his name? Billy Butler. He was in the All-Star game and the home run derby one year, and he was batting like 200. And the only reason he was in the Derby or the All-Star game was because A, the Royals had to have a Royals representative, and B, they were playing in the Royal Stadium. They were playing at Kauffman. So they put this guy into the All-Star, into the home run derby, and he had like 3 home runs. He crapped out. I think he hit 1 home run in that derby. And I was just like, who is this guy and why is he there?
Well, yeah, so the voting goes, the voting is votes in the starters, which is the one part, and then the rest of the team is picked by the commissioner's office. So Cedric Mullins actually is an all-star. Okay, so he did get selected by the commissioners, and he is deserving. I 100% agree.
Don't they have
he definitely has better numbers
now too?
I think they do, because I think they want to make sure there's more pitchers available, because they don't want that whole tie game thing when Joe Torre and Bob Brennan.
World Series means something. It means something.
Yeah. Oh, that was the stupidest thing in the world.
Yeah, that was bad. I didn't like that either. I still enjoy it though. Like you said, Nick, we get to see these players play each other. I mean, obviously, it wasn't, interleague, but remember that, I know people don't really remember all-star games, but what is that lineup that Pedro Martinez went against? It was like Barry Bonds. It was like an insane lineup.
It was like Barry Bonds, Gary Sheffield, and Mike Piazza.
And he struck the 3 of them out or something.
Yeah, it was pretty great. My favorite all-star moment is Torrey Hunter robbing Barry Bonds.
Yes, and then Barry Bonds picked him up.
Yes,
I think that was in Seattle. That was in Seattle.
That might have been in Seattle.
It might have been in Seattle. I thought it was Milwaukee. Was it Milwaukee?
It definitely Milwaukee. It wasn't Milwaukee. It wasn't
Milwaukee. I could have sworn it was in Seattle, but I remember that. I remember that vividly too.
Yeah, that's my favorite all-star moment. At least for our generation, that's my favorite.
Yeah, definitely. And the Pedro Martinez one going against like the 3 biggest names at the time. in the NL. That was a fun one too. And I'm not even a Red Sox fan, but
Pedro Martinez is a great, regardless of whether
great
you like him or not.
who he was. But yeah, I agree. I know there's definitely snubs. So one of the things was that we were going to talk about was snubs. I don't know if Nick has it, but mine was Justin Turner. So if you compare Justin Turner's numbers to Nolan Arenado, I can't really pronounce it. Arenado, Justin Turner's actually more deserving than he is, and also Manny Machado as well. And then because of this one team representative thing, which is, you have the voting and then you have the one team representative.
I think the one team representative thing is worse than the voting.
Yeah,
because some teams are so trash, they don't deserve to have an all-star representative.
Because Detroit gets a player, Diamondbacks get a player, and they're not good teams. And the Diamondbacks, the best player they had on that team this year is Escobar, I think, who plays third base. And instead of Justin Turner, instead of not Nolan Arenado, but instead of Justin Turner or Manny Machado, they have Escobar there. So it's like you just snubbed two really great players that are more deserving to be there because you had to put in a Diamondback player. The Diamondbacks are trash this year. They've lost 20-something games in a row.
The Tigers are trash too.
Tigers are trash too, and they have a player going through as well. And it just, I get what it is. I get there's a lot more players on the roster. They want to include everybody, make everyone want to watch. But I mean, the NBA doesn't change their roster when it comes to the All-Star game.
Yeah, but that's because there's
only like 15 guys. I know. But it's still
Tigers have a manager that shouldn't be managing.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah, it's a topic for another time, though.
Yeah,
yeah. What about you, Nick? Do you have any snubs, or did you go through it, or?
Honestly, I don't pay much attention. I don't. It's crazy. You look at certain players that never made an All-Star game, like Eric Chavez never made an All-Star game. Like, just think about that for a second, because I think Eric Chavez, he was an anchor on that athletics team for 6 years, and he never made an All-Star game. And then you look at somebody like Anthony Rendon, never made an All-Star game till like 2 years ago. And he's continuous. So to me, like, I don't put much credence into the All-Star game. A lot of people think of it like, oh wow, the All-Star game. It's not about how you start, it's how you finish. If that's the case, if the All-Star game is a marker of how great a player is, then the Mets would have 25 World Series at this point, because they're great until July. Like it's the All-Star game to me is a popularity contest. It's for the fans, and that's why it never meant anything, because it's just for fun. It's an exhibition. That's it. It's a break in the middle of the season. And that's the other thing that kills me about these players is that they go to the All-Star game and it should just be for fun, right? We don't need Pete Rose killing Ray Fosse at home plate anymore. We don't need it. We didn't need it then. We didn't need it then, really. I mean, Pete Rose ended Ray Fosse's career. Like, basically, the guy was having an MVP caliber season, and then he got a concussion on that collision at home plate in a game that didn't matter, and it ruined his career. And now we have guys today that are going, I don't want to go to the All-Star game. I might get hurt. If you're playing so hard in the All-Star game that you might get hurt, but you don't get hurt in a regular season game, you're doing it wrong, okay? You're doing it wrong. I mean, the odds of you getting hurt playing baseball in a game that doesn't matter, if you're a professional athlete, should be slim to none, because you shouldn't be trying all that hard. I mean, if I remember right, didn't somebody throw a one right down the pipe to give Derek Jeter a home run in the All-Star game?
Oh, it was the Twins pitcher.
Yeah.
What was his
name?
No,
it could have been the Twins pitcher.
Why? Because Twins aren't good enough to have pitchers?
No, because the Twins can't pitch to an American League batter in the All-Star game.
Oh, fuck yeah. That's stupid. No,
I don't recall
in Minnesota.
I don't recall who it was. But
it was someone from the Cardinals.
He threw a meatball right down the pipe.
Waka?
Jeter, it might have been Waka. Or who's the other one from the Cardinals?
Wainwright? Not Wainwright.
I think it was Wainwright.
Was it Wainwright?
I think it was Wainwright. Adam Wainwright just threw one right down the pipe just so Jeter could hit a home run. That's what and then they asked him, like, did you just give him one? And he was like,
yeah, I did it.
No. I might have missed it, but then
they also say he did do it.
Didn't they also do that for Cal Ripken's last All-Star game?
He played short. Him and A-Rod switched, I think.
Yeah, they switched, yeah.
I'm almost certain that they also put one right down Broadway for him to hit it.
Yeah, oh, did they? I don't recall. I remember the big switch.
The pitcher probably didn't remember it because, I think whoever it was, the Cardinals said, they were like, yeah, I grooved it. Like, they admitted it afterwards, I'm sure.
No, they alluded to it.
Oh, is that what it was?
But he didn't say flat out, yeah, I did it.
I did it, but he alluded to it.
He was like, he was just like, Derek Jeter. Did you throw one down the pipe? It's Derek Jeter.
Yeah. Well, no, even though we don't, everyone's saying, we don't watch All-Star game, but we still have memories of the All-Star game. I'm sorry. I still like it. I know you guys don't, but I do.
I don't dislike the All-Star game. I don't put much credence into it. It's for fun. That's it. I'm actually looking more forward to the Futures game.
Me too. I am too.
Dominguez is playing in the Futures game. I'm excited about that.
And Bobby Witt from the Royals, I think he's a shortstop. I've been having him on my roster for my keeper fantasy league. You're allowed to keep one minor leaguer. And I've kept Bobby Witt from the Royals for quite a while. Waiting for the startup. So I do want to see what he looks like during our actual games. So moving on though.
Crazy.
So was that?
Sorry, real quick, because Nick Dominguez, but it's crazy that this kid is in a Futures game and he is already being touted without even playing like an actual pro game, which is insane.
Oh,
because he's really only been doing
yesterday.
Oh, because he just started the Florida League, right? He just started the Florida League.
Okay.
Yeah,
he just got his first hit.
I'm just saying, though, even going into this season, like he's been talked about the last like 2 or 3 years, and he's just playing his first game.
No, you are right though, because they did name him on the Futures before that hit a couple days ago. He was in the Futures team a couple weeks ago already.
Before the season started, I feel like they put him in the Futures game.
Yeah, they might as well. He's the.
But
Martian,
you know what though?
Man.
Again, it's for fun.
I'm fine with that. Though.
I don't really watch the Futures game, but I'm watching this year because I want to see Dominguez.
No stress for me. That's why. So we were going to do home run derby picks, but I don't know if you guys. I mean, they didn't even pick the full home run derby field, but my pick's Ohtani just because Nick hates him.
Vlad
Jr.
How do you not go with Vlad Jr.?
I do want Vlad Jr., but I'm saying
I just won. I just won. Thanks, because I just went with Vlad Jr. I appreciate you picking Ohtani because he's gonna break his leg, fouling one off his shin in the home run derby. Vlad Jr. is gonna win.
I think Vlad Jr. is gonna win, but I think the dark horse here is either gonna be Matt Olson or Salvador Perez.
I like those picks. I like that pick.
I especially like the Matt Olson pick. That's some West Coast thinking. That's some broad-minded thinking right there.
That's because this guy's stay up late nights watching West Coast baseball.
Listen, I used to be a logger at MLB Network, so there were times I was working from 8 p.m. to 4 a.m. logging West Coast games. So
there you go. Yeah, and just as we're doing this, the Lightning had just won the Stanley Cup, so that was a foregone conclusion, I think. But it's now officially
illegal.
No, what's illegal is what TJ's been talking about for the last 4 weeks, where they immediately gave Canada a
semifinal spot,
a 25% chance of winning the Stanley Cup. A whole country got a 25% chance of winning the Stanley Cup.
Yeah. All right, so moving on. So obviously we're at the All-Star break coming up. We have a couple first half surprises at MLB. So I guess I'll get started because I did some research on this, but mine is Kevin Gausman. I think he's actually has the second lowest ERA in the league in MLB behind Jacob deGrom. And I mean, Nick, Kevin Gausman from being on the Orioles, but he's having an incredible year compared to what you used to see him. I mean, he's getting against the Yankees and just get destroyed. He had good stuff, but he just never came along. But this year he finally put it together. And my other second half surprise is obviously the same, same with Kevin Gausman. He's on the Giants now. Is the San Francisco Giants. They're half game up in the Dodgers as of earlier today. I don't know what the standings are now, and 3 games up on the Padres, who are both they were both the favorites for the NL West. So to see the Giants come out and having a good first half year. I mean, obviously, you hope they continue it on. They won 53 games so far, so hopefully they continue it, but. Those are my 2 first half surprises in MLB, which I think are, pretty shocking. I don't think anyone expect the Giants to be up there halfway through the season.
No, I mean, I'm with you there as one of my surprises, the Giants being one of them. I think I picked them in my predictions to finish 4th in that division and maybe only winning like 74 games, 75 games. So they're definitely a major shock. There. You got to give credit where credit's due there. I mean, Gabe Kapler doing a good job, and then obviously I believe it's Farhan Zahadi, who's the general manager there now, coming over from the Dodgers and stuff. The other thing is, and I don't know about you, Ant, but I did not expect the Boston Red Sox to be where they are at this point in the season. I really thought going into the season with no pitching staff that they were not going to be that good. But then again, at the same time, you think about, again, a front office that knows how to put a team together with not many well-known pieces, and Chaim Bloom over there, who came over from the Tampa Bay Rays running the baseball operations department. And I didn't expect that to happen. And as a Yankee fan, it kind of sucks because I really picked the Red Sox to finish like fourth as well. And the fact that they're in first place is just mind-boggling. And not to mention that they're going to get Chris Sale back probably by the end of July or early August. And that just makes them even a scarier team, because if Chris Sale can get back to the pitcher that he was pre-Tommy John surgery, I think the Red Sox are a team to be reckoned with when we get into October.
Yeah, I agree. That is definitely a shock.
I think the last surprise is, and this might be a little bit biased, but I don't think anybody expected the Yankees to be as inconsistent as they are. So something's got to give here. But I think, you got to win these. You got to win against these bad teams. But if they come back and they're not playing good baseball, I think Brian Cashman might have to think about selling off at the trade deadline. So those are at least three of my surprises at this point.
Surprises, Lance Lynn. Lance Lynn's crushing.
Yeah, that's true.
The AL and ERA.
Wait.
Say again?
If only the Yankees had a player like him. Oh, wait.
You know what, though? Yeah. I don't get mad about him not being on the Yankees, because if he came to New York, he'd probably suck. There are some people that just can't play here. Look at Zach Greinke. Zach Greinke is so in his head. If he came to New York, he would probably kill himself. All right? So, I mean, Lance Lynn's not on the Yankees. Some people just aren't meant for pinstripes. I mean, that's just life, you know? And then you got some people that – say again? Sonny Gray, you know? So some guys guys suck, and then they put the pinstripes on, and all of a sudden it clicks. Look at Luke Voit. Luke Voit was nobody, and then he came here and led the league in home runs last year. Had 5 hits last night. He's finally getting back into a little bit of a groove.
You know, RBI right now tonight already in the single.
So some people are not meant for the pinstripes, and some people can only play in pinstripes, and they go elsewhere and they're mediocre to below average. And it is what it is. But I think Lance Lynn has really impressed me. But then again, he also plays in the Central, where there isn't that much, power crushing hitting going on in the Central. I mean, there are some guys out there that can mash, but they don't have lineups like we do have in the AL East. And there goes Judge just taking off on one. He likes playing in Seattle.
There we go. He loves crushing balls there. Yeah.
Geez, that's a shot.
It's a bomb.
So Lance Lynn's a surprise. The Athletics being as good as they are this year. And I agree with Joe 100% about the Yankees and the Red Sox. I was not anticipating the Red Sox being as good, especially last year with their manager, who also should not be managing, talking about cheating managers. But I guess a manager does make a difference, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Especially if they're cheating. So that helps you. Actually, wait, just to stop talk about this, but we're watching the game, Nick. I actually like that camera angle when they're coming around third. That's new, right?
I missed that camera angle.
So they must have one of those cameras, like the NFL, they have that camera that hangs over the field. I think they have one of those moving the camera that goes along with them while they're coming up third baseline. So it's actually a different angle of them coming around. It's pretty cool. Sorry, that's besides the point. But yeah, I think we all definitely agree on those surprises the first half. And Nick's biggest surprise, he mentioned, was Ohtani not getting hurt.
Season's not over yet, pal.
But it's still, he got halfway through the season. That's a win for Ohtani.
Yeah, he's usually hurt in the first half, so I guess
he is usually hurt.
Half left.
So moving on to the first half surprises. Obviously, we're talking about the New York Yankees and their, how they're the suckiness. They just suck right now, and they're beating up on these bad teams. Obviously, last night and today. But about Cole and Chapman. So ever since the crackdown, I think both of them have been pretty bad. So is that definitely that they're using the spider attack before this?
Cole, yes. From what I've been reading about Chapman, everybody's saying that it doesn't have anything to do with grip because his spin rate's the same. It's got to do with the fact that his mechanics are all over the place. And, it's one of those things. It's going to happen. Either it happens in bunches or it happens in spots. It's hard to be great for 2 months straight and then out of nowhere, maybe you have 2 or 3 bad outings. Those might be the only 2 or 3 bad outings he has the whole season.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
It happened in like bad spots, like against the Mets. People hate that.
Look at the fact that the first 30 games he didn't give up a run, whatever it was, and then he had a couple of bad things. I don't think it's any sort of grip situation. I think it's more so his confidence, and I think that there is a point that comes in the season, and I feel like it's been like that ever since he's been a Yankee, where there is that small little window where he kind of has a couple of rough games, and it kind of is like, all right, do we now question his ability to close games for the New York Yankees? And I know Aaron Boone came out and said the other day that there is some sort of consideration about possibly moving him out of that. And we saw, like I mentioned at the top of this, that he was in a 12-1 game, but that might have just been a confidence booster for him at that point, just to kind of get him back on. And it still looked a little bit shaky, but at the end of the day, I mean, it's going to happen. Like I understand. I think as Yankee fans and people who watched baseball when the Yankees had Mariano Rivera, there was far and few in between mistakes that you saw from Mariano Rivera. So I think we got used to that fact.
Oh, definitely.
And now you get guys that are going to have bad games, and the game is not the same as it was when Rivera was pitching. So I honestly think it's just a confidence thing with him. And I'm pretty sure, and I think he came out with something on like Twitter yesterday or Instagram, right? He posted.
He did, yeah.
Like, I am not done. There's no quitting this fight or whatever.
Right.
Yeah. I think it was funny. Someone commented back saying that, dude, we're asking to get 3 out, not storm Normandy.
So I'll say this with what Joe said about stringing together. You have some bad starts here and there, and I noticed that and we as Yankee fans more specifically, as anybody has a bad stretch of anything, and unless it's Derek Jeter, we're ready to burn their house down and murder their family. Me personally, listen, I know nobody's perfect.
Very true.
As they say, nobody's perfect. And I know that, and I understand that baseball is a game predicated on failure, on absolute failure. I interviewed for a job once, and the guy doing the interview was like, so this job has a lot of failure. You don't make a sale every time. How do you deal with failure? I said, well, I play baseball, and you fail 7 out of 10 times, and you're still great. So, you just grab your bat and take your next hacks. He goes, what position do you play? I said, center field. He goes, all right, we have a softball team. And I got the job. So, awesome. And we won the championship that year, even though I hate softball and I tried not to play. And I basically got told you only got hired to play softball. So we'll see you at practice. But as far as Chapman goes and the spider tack, I don't think he's always been great.
That's true.
I mean, he was throwing 104 before any of this grip crap or any of this analytics crap became as prominent as it is today. Cole, on the other hand, he's going back to the way he was before he got to the Astros and learned how to cheat at a higher level.
He was in Pittsburgh. He's going back to the Pittsburgh version of himself, where he was mediocre to slightly above average. He's not going to be Cy Young Award contending without his little spider tack crap that he learned from his cheating buddies in Houston. And I always sucks. They gave him such a big deal. Just sucks. $300 million guy, and now we got fucking
mediocrity.
MLB decides to crack down.
He's gonna be mediocre. That's all. All you can hope is that his mediocre is better than everybody else's great, because now nobody can use the crap, and allegedly everybody was using it. So all you can hope now is that his mediocre is better. Everybody else just falls off the rails. So you can hope.
And they're both all-stars. Do you think they say no, or do you think they're gonna go play?
I think the Yankees are going to prevent him from going. I just found it funny. Right? How ironic was it that they were named to the All-Star game after both of them had really shitty
collapses against the Mets.
Yeah. Hey, listen,
we
can't make fun of the Mets, man. Like, despite all the injuries,
they're a first half surprise too. Yeah, I agree. I say every week.
The fact that they got COVIDed out the first 10 games of the season actually helps them, or else they'd be under 500.
I can't make fun of the Mets because the person that I live with now is a huge Mets fan, and I might get beat up or something.
Yeah, you don't want to get kicked out of the bed. So
what she's gonna do is she's gonna wait for him to fall asleep, and she's gonna cover his mouth with like cellophane, and then he's gonna wake up like he just had sleep apnea, and he's gonna and she's gonna be like, "You okay? What happened?"
No, but I do give the Mets, their props every week, and then Nick and TJ make fun of me for doing it. So. But
they play in like the worst division in baseball.
I know the
can't
worst
give them
division
too
in
much
baseball.
respect.
They're the same record as the Yankees, and every other team's on the 500 in that division. So
I'm not all that impressed. Oh, they had a whole bunch of injuries.
And I don't get it.
They're staying afloat.
They have the best pitcher in baseball in the last probably 50 years, and they can't win when he pitches. I don't even want to hear about the Mets.
I don't get it. I don't get how that division was supposed to be the most competitive division the last 3 years, and it's been a ever since.
That division's been that way for 30 years, and everybody that plays in that division goes, we have the most competitive division. And I always like to say, you all equally suck. That's not competition. That's just mediocrity mellowing out in one area. You know, when you beat up on the rest of the league as a division, that's when you're all like, that's competitive. Yeah. When you all equally suck and therefore you all hover around 500, that is not competition.
No, it definitely isn't.
On paper, when you look at the rosters, maybe.
That's why they play the games. Or else the Yankees would have won the World Series already.
Yeah.
That's true.
So I'm looking at my Facebook timeline, and it was the funniest thing. And I'll have the editor throw it in there, the comparison. But back in 2013, a new player for the Los Angeles Dodgers popped up on the scene. Name is Yasiel Puig. And in that in his first like week in Major League Baseball, he started popping up some crazy numbers. And I'll just read off some of these stats to you. That Puig was posting in his first like 90 at bats or something like that.
Was it the first 23 games, I think?
I can't remember. It was his first 89 at bats. So let's do that math. You roughly get 3 at bats per game. 89, that's 30 games. Yeah. So his first like 30 games, roughly. All right. 89 at bats, 7 home runs, batting 427, 457, 708. OBP was 457, slugging 708 with 3 walks and 18 strikeouts. All right. And the the post that I posted back in 2013 was, everybody needs to calm down about this Puig guy. And it had the comparison to our friend Jeff Francoeur, where it posted that he had 81 at-bats with 8 home runs, batting 432 with an on-base percentage of 439, slugging 827 with no walks and 16 strikeouts. So basically the meme was saying, listen, calm down about Puig. Jeff Francoeur put up comparable numbers, and we're not sitting here watching the Jeff Francoeur show. Shout out to Jeff Francoeur. I don't mean anything personal, guy. You're a great guy. Nobody's trying to hurt your feelings or anything.
Cheers.
You're a gentleman and a scholar. I'm just pointing out the comparison. And here we are 8 years later, and Yasiel Puig's not even playing Major League Baseball anymore. So maybe we need to pump the brakes on the Ohtani train.
Is that what it was, you son of a bitch? You tricked me.
No, but seriously, that meme 8 years ago was on point.
And you know that you'd be pissed off too. I was pissed off when they gave Ohtani Rookie of the Year over Miguel Andujar that first year, because Miguel Andujar deserved it. And because everybody in their mother thought, oh my God, we're seeing the first player since Babe Ruth to be a pitcher and a hitter. And then that's why they gave it to him. I mean, now it finally took his third year into the league to finally be that player. So like, I'm kind of with Nick a little bit. Like, I'm not going to hype him up too much. I mean, yeah, he's
coming on again. Last time we were about it.
Doing something pretty special. There's no doubt about it that given the fact that we've seen what his first half is, probably is going to get the MVP of the American League. And yet his team's not going to be in the playoffs because the Angels are notorious for getting tremendous players. Poor Mike Trout. I don't know why he wanted to sign a contract there if that team is not going to get out of the basement anytime soon. So I get it. I can understand the whole, comparing, especially with the whole Yasiel Puig thing. I thought Yasiel Puig was overrated when he jumped into the league too. So it's just, I'm not saying Ohtani's overrated. I think it finally took this time for him to be this player. Let's see what happens. I gotta see consistent years. Then come and talk to me. Like, I need to see consistency. I'm not going to go off of 1 year. Like, we all got hyped about freaking Gary Sanchez in his first 50 games as a Yankee. And then the last 2 years, he's kind of sputtered out. And now he's bringing it back. What makes a great ball player is consistency over the years. So I'm kind of with Nick there.
Joe, you couldn't be more right, because I am not a Derek Jeter fan I have a lot of
Yeah,
respect for Derek Jeter, but I'm not a fan. I'm not a fanboy like a lot of Yankee fans are. But and here's my point: is Derek Jeter's never been the best shortstop in baseball, but he was number 2 for 20 years, and that's hard. If you look at the list of shortstops that played with Derek Jeter that were winning MVPs, you look at the Miguel Tejadas and Alex Rodriguez. If you want to sit there and say, well, they're doing steroids, even if they weren't doing steroids, they were only the best shortstop in baseball for, a couple of weeks, or a year, and we'll go both leagues. You look at somebody like, damn it, what's his name? He was on the Yankees. No, he was never.
I'm joking.
Stop. The kid from the Rockies. That he ended up on the Yankees a few years ago. Troy Tulowitzki. Troy Tulowitzki was an MVP candidate, and he was probably the best shortstop in baseball for 2 seasons, and then he died. Like, his career was over. And the same thing with Tejada. He was the best shortstop in baseball for about 3 seasons, and then he was gone. And a lot of people were in that that discussion as the best shortstop in baseball. All right. 1, 2, and 3 was probably an ongoing conversation. And a lot of those ones won MVPs along the way. And Jeter never did. And if you look at their side-by-side comparison for the years that they played, Jeter was maybe the best shortstop in baseball for maybe 1 year where he was like number 2 or 3 in the MVP balloting for the AL. If there wasn't an NL shortstop in a better position. But Jeter was number 2 for 20 years. And that consistency is so hard to find because you're not going to be sitting here and comparing Miguel Tejada or Troy Tulowitzki's career to Derek Jeter because it's not, you can't, it's impossible. And the reason I bring up Puig and I talk about Ohtani a lot is somebody very simple like Mark Fidrych. Mark Fidrych was the greatest thing since sliced bread, the bird. Everybody was talking about how great he was. But if you asked anybody in the street, to include people that are Brewers fans, who Mark Fidrych is, they'd be like, It's the bird. Like, I know who the bird is. I'm an avid baseball fan, but most people don't have a clue. Why? He was only good for like a season. Yeah. And that was it. So why even talk about him anymore? I mean, if you're the greatest player of all time and you break every record and you die after the season, but you only play that 1 year, will you go down as the greatest player of all time? Probably not, because you only played 1 year.
No, I agree with that, Nick. And that definitely makes your point, obviously with Ohtani. I get a little excited because it's just fun as a baseball fan to see someone like that. But obviously, I know my hype of it. I think I do it more because I know that you always wish the injuries and stuff on him.
No, I am not wishing injuries. I see injuries and I anticipate.
No, I know you're right.
That's what he's given lately. All right.
Yeah, I get it. I agree.
And Joe, I do have a small disagreement with you about why he won Rookie of the Year that year. He didn't win because he did it on both sides of the field. Because if I remember right, he got injured pitching within his first 5 starts. He did. So he didn't do it on both sides of the field. They made him MVP because they tried to keep the West Coast relevant because the AL West couldn't be less
Yankee
relevant.
The Yankee bias too.
I
also say, Nick, the Yankee bias too, because it would have been the second straight year of Yankee Rookie of the Year because they had Judge in 2017 and Harvard in 2018. But that's just,
and they snubbed Sanchez too.
And they snubbed Sanchez in 2016. So it's just Yankee bias. And it happens. The media may say it doesn't, but it does happen. Of course, it happens.
It happened to Matsui. Matsui didn't get the the Rookie of the Year because he played.
He played in Japan.
He played in Japan, so that he's a profestional already. But Ohtani played in Japan, and the rules are different now.
Because it's not
the media hates the Yankees. That's what it comes down to.
True. All right, well, moving on. I know Joe follows along with this, but I know Nick does not. UEFA Euro soccer is going on, the Euro Cup. So I've been watching it because it's on during the day when it works. It gives me something to do, like while I'm drafting and stuff. It gives me something a little distraction.
I watch The Sopranos when I'm at work.
So I realized that I'm watching it too much, and I'm realizing that why I don't watch soccer. And it's really because I can't stand the fucking flopping. It's like the NBA times 10, and I just can't fucking do it. I was watching the game today. The guy from England. It was an extra time. Oh no, I'm sorry. It wasn't an extra time yet. It was towards the end. It was like 80 something minute, and the guy gets slid into. He grabs his ankle. He's going nuts. As soon as he gets the call, he jumps up, runs to the ball, picks it up, and puts it back in the spot because he's like, we don't have much time to fuck around and act like you're hurt. But it's like, you just had the penalty. How did you fall that fast? Like, you're not really that hurt. It shouldn't be a penalty. And then I just
want to say the worst flop of the year was Eric Christensen when they actually brought out the stretcher in the AED. That was a flop and a half. It was so weird.
That's horrible.
That guy died, bro. That guy died.
Died for a little while.
That guy died for a little bit.
TJ even said he died from boredom from playing soccer, but he still died.
Shout out to TJ.
Shout out TJ. We miss you, bud.
Wow. I mean, yeah. Well, that happened in the Italy game the other day where the Italian player, he goes down in the box. Italy scores. He gets up, looks around.
Yes,
he's like,
he did.
Italy scored.
Yeah.
He went down like he got shot, and then he just, all right, we're good. We scored. Let's go.
He didn't get the penalty call, but he was still selling it anyway. And then they had the ball, and then like whatever happened, they ended up scoring, and he just jumps up and goes nuts. But you know what? Italia, baby. Italia's on the way to the final.
Italy
We're playing England. It actually made it. Yeah, Italy versus England. I made a funny joke about England. I was saying how they were playing Wembley. They should have lost today. I think Denmark should have won that game. But I was saying to my brother that they should. England's probably going to choke us away because they're used to giving up a lot of land. Because at one point they ruled the world, and then now they only have an island the size of Rhode Island.
Italy did the same thing, right?
Yeah, but that was much longer ago. It was like
I'm just saying the sun never sets on the Roman Empire.
But at one point, England was all over the place, and they gave up that huge lead over the world.
To quote the Sopranos, where are the Romans now?
That's on Sunday, right? The finals on Sunday, I think, at 3:00.
Yeah, finals on Sunday. I'm looking forward to that. So moving on, we're going to go on to the debate of the week. So for this one, obviously our inspiration for it was Pro Football Focus and named Mark Sanchez as the worst New York Jets draft pick in the last 15 years. So I think we're all going to, obviously Nick is a Jet fan. I'm a Giants fan. So I'm going to go on the New York Giants way. That guy just hit a home run.
No, he hit a double. LaCassio's second double of the game.
Yeah, LaCassio's second double again. So sorry, I'm going to go about the New York Giants. I know Joe's not a big football fan. So instead we're going to different perspective of it. And Joe's going to go into it about the Rangers. So Nick, since it's your team they're talking about, you're all decked out in New York Jets gear. So
I wore my throwback Jets gear in support of Mark Sanchez. And I'll tell you this right now. Being a Jets fan hurts. Monday through Friday, twice on Sunday.
Horrible.
Saturday, I get a respite because I'm a Florida State fan and I've seen them win a few national championships. Mark Sanchez, as far as quarterbacks are concerned, what always bothered me about Jets fans is they always talk about Chad Pennington like he was the greatest thing since sliced bread. Chad Pennington couldn't throw further than 10 yards and was injured more often than not. And to me, if you're the best player, if you're the leader of your franchise and you can't be on the field to make the Hail Mary throw to hope that your team wins, then obviously you're not the guy. Because you don't take your home run hitter, you don't pinch hit for Derek Jeter in the 9th inning, but you pinch hit for Chad Pennington to throw a Hail Mary because he can't. And that was always pathetic to me. It always drove me crazy. Like, I'll never forget it so vividly watching Quincy Carter throw the last pass of a game to try to win a game. And I'm just like, and Chad Pennington's our quarterback, and he cannot be on the field to win the game right now. That's pathetic. Clearly, he's not the guy. Mark Sanchez took my team to 2 AFC championship games. It was the most fun I've had as a Jets fan in my life. I've dealt with a lot of pain and suffering. The most fun I've had in my career as a Jet fan is my life as a Jet fan. And I'm not going to say I was a Jet fan since birth. Football's not a thing in my house like that. Like, football's not gigantic in my home. My family's a baseball family. I learned to be a Jets fan. My friend Mike Rodriguez, when I was in junior high, was a Jets fan, and I spent a lot of time at his house. So when we played Madden or whatever, or we watched football, we watched the Jets because that's what he watched at his house. And that's truthfully why I'm a Jets fan. I should have made friends with somebody else. But point being is that Mark Sanchez took my team to 2 AFC championship games. And now some people will sit there and say, well, he held them back. Okay, fair enough. Who else would you want you to be your quarterback at that point? Who else was available that you would have taken to be your quarterback at that point? Because there really wasn't anybody else that you could sit there and be like, that guy was definitely the guy. We knew it. No, that's not what happened. And then his regression took place because the Jets got rid of the people he worked with. He worked with Braylon Edwards. I've never seen a sports athlete, all right, professionally, wear their team's gear in the streets when they're in the club, except for Braylon Edwards. Braylon Edwards would walk around the city of New York with Jets hats on. And I was like, wow, like, have you ever seen Derek Jeter wear a Yankee anything outside of – he wouldn't even put on the Yankee, retired number jacket that they made the day that they retired his number. He wouldn't even put it on.
The Monument Park one? Yeah,
the Monument Park one that they made specifically for him for that day, and they gave him out to everybody else that day. He wouldn't even put it on that day. He was like, "Here, Jorge, put it on my chair." All right, like watch the video game. He does not put on the jacket they made for him. It was like getting the green jacket or getting the gold jacket in the NFL and just being like, "Peasants, get it away from me." That's what Jeter did. But you know, Braylon Edwards was proud to be a Jet, and I don't. The only person I've seen like that, like while they're playing for the Jets, I can't think of anybody. Maybe Joe Namath, but he never. They didn't have gear back then like they do now. But like they got rid of his guys, and that was a downfall of Mark Sanchez. The worst pick the Jets ever had in the last 15 years is Vernon Gholston. And if not Vernon Gholston, then Christian Hackenberg. Vernon Gholston was a lineman or a linebacker, whatever you want to put him in, right? He's an edge guy with 0 sacks in his NFL career. 0.
How many games did he play?
For the Jets, at least 32.
He played 2 full seasons, the Jets?
And 0 sacks. I think he played 3 full seasons with the Jets. He played out his 3 rookie years, and he might have been injured here or there, but I don't recall him missing too much. And between him and Quentin Coples and D. Milliner, we're really talking like D. Milliner barely played any games at all. Christian
I was going to say D. Milliner
never took a snap. Christian Hackenberg was a round 2 pick, never touched a football in a game.
Yeah, that's pretty bad too.
And he's not even in the NFL. And he's a high school football coach now. And he's like 25.
I know when you first brought this up to us, I was going to say D. Milliner was like way worse than Mark Sanchez. And I forgot about Christian Hackenberg with the fact they spent the pick on him.
D. Milliner.
I mean, listen, I was going to say real quickly, because like I said, I'm not too fond of the sport. I think it's a little bit of a stretch to say that Mark Sanchez is one of the worst draft picks the Jets have put out there. I mean, Nick has a point. He brought them to 2 AFC championship games. I mean, there's not much more you can – obviously you want a Super Bowl, but the quarterback is doing that and bringing you there. I think it's pretty –
in his first 3 seasons.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Name me another Jets quarterback that brought them to 2 AFC championship games. I'll sit here and wait.
Yeah.
Never happened. He's the only quarterback. I think at the time, before the Giants won their second Super Bowl, he had won more playoff games than Eli Manning.
Yeah, he did at that point. Yeah, 100% agree.
But yeah, definitely my pick would be Vernon Gholston, number 6 overall. And a lot of people are saying that they picked Sanchez because they traded up to get him. That's not Sanchez's fault. And if that's the case, that means somebody else would have drafted him.
Exactly.
But honestly, the roster.
And you have to blame the general manager at that point. You can't be mad at him.
He got rid of all his assets. The guys that he liked to throw to, they got rid of him.
And then they brought in Tim Tebow to fuck with him more. So, I mean, they didn't really do him a service after bringing him to two AFC championships. And you know what? He has to take care of the football too. And you know what he did? That's what he did. That was his job. It was a ground and pound team at that point. Good defense, good run game. He had to take care of the football, and that's what he did.
And you know what it is? I think the butt fumble hurts him too, as far as memories are concerned. It's one bad play. You know, it is what it is. I'm not going to say it was embarrassing. It absolutely was embarrassing, but I don't think that's the definition of his career, because I still remember him. I remember, honestly, of all people at the time, our offensive coordinator was Schottenheimer, the son. I can't remember the son's first name right now, but
Morty.
No, Marty's the father.
It's
Brian. Brian Schottenheimer.
It was Marty. And was it Marty?
Marty's the father, yeah.
I was saying his son was Morty.
Yeah, no.
It was funny if it was.
Brian Schottenheimer was our offensive coordinator at the time. And I remember playing against, I want to say the Colts. And Sanchez is throwing in the first half. And it just seemed like he sat there and was like, we're getting too lucky with this. Let's stop throwing the ball. And it seemed like the Colts were just not prepared to watch the ball get thrown. And they were like, they're going to run it on us. They're going to run. This kid's never going to throw. The first half, he's throwing everywhere. Second half, they abandoned the throw. They abandoned the pass altogether. They're running the ball. And that's why we lost, because they couldn't score enough points against Peyton fucking Manning.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I know we're definitely running long, so I just want to go real quick with mine, which I think Pro Football Focus definitely got right, was Eli Apple. The first one, like when you mentioned this, I was like, I'm thinking of the New York Giants right here. And I'm like 100% Eli Apple was not a good draft pick. But I went back further because I felt like it was someone who was even worse than that for the 20-year span. So I actually was in history or 20 or 15. So for 20 years, well, now we're at 21 because he was drafted in the 2000s, Ron Dane. Remember Ron Dane? Heisman Trophy winner in 1999, University of Wisconsin, Badger. Yeah. I looked it up right now. His number was retired in Wisconsin.
27. Wasn't his number on the Giants? 27?
27 in the New York Giants, 33 in Wisconsin, which is now retired. Here's his numbers. I think he only had so his 28 touchdowns in his career. The Giants, he only had 17 in 4 years with the New York Giants. Rush yards, 770 his rookie year, 690, 428, and then 179.
So he never broke 1,000 yards.
Never broke 1,000 yards.
What round was he drafted? He drafted first round?
First round draft pick.
What was his number?
Let me see where it was.
What number overall?
11th pick.
Wow.
Which that's why when the Giants drafted Saquon Barkley, I was a little scared because.
So I'll one up you on that one. The Giants' worst draft pick of the last 15 years is Eric Flowers, left tackle, who allowed Eli Manning to get raped as an old man. I mean, he wasn't that smart in the first place, but Eric Flowers, I mean, they should have known better drafting somebody that plays left tackle whose last name is Flowers. Not exactly a name that strikes fear in the hearts of the defensive lineman he'll be going up against week after week. And
his last name is to be Murder instead.
Yeah, pretty much.
Murder, not Muck Duck. That's
not
why
Muck
they call
Duck.
it Murder.
Yeah, R is menacing. That's why it's called Murder and not Muck Duck.
But
yes,
I mean,
Eric Flowers.
I agree. Eric Flowers is probably up there.
Well, the worst part about it is that Eric Flowers, right, as an offensive lineman, a left tackle is a lot like a quarterback. You can't miss. If you miss, it sets your team back.
It's bad.
It sets your team back. So, and then they try to move him to the right side. Like, all right, kid, you can't handle the blind side. Let's move you over to the right side. He sucked there too.
Yeah.
Like there's no place else to go. I mean, you can go in, I guess, but I think he was too big. He couldn't fit in.
I think between those three, I think we covered probably the worst draft picks in the last 21 years.
Yeah.
Nick, take us on out.
Yeah. So from all of us here at the Scoreboard Addicts podcast, please like and subscribe at all of the social media environments that you'll see in this area.
And
if you
follow
want to sing out,
Joe, what's your Twitter handle?
What's your where are you at?
So my Twitter handle is at Joe Soccoa 3. Yeah. SOCCOA 3.
All right, we'll add it up there.
I feel like every week we spell out his last name.
We do. I think we do because we tell people to download the Soccoa Media app and we forget. We always spell it for everybody. SOCCOA.
Yeah. But if you want to sing out, sing out. If you want to swing low, swing low. There's a million places to go, but you will always find us here at the Scoreboard Addicts podcast. Thank you so much. I'm Nick once again. We got the Rook and we got Joe Soccoa with us. Special shout out to our friend TJ out on vacation. Have a good time, brother.
Take care.
Good night, gents.
Good night.
Stay rock.